Hi, hello besties! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. You know, when I was 13, I had a silly, goofy little Undertale phase. Didn't we all? 5 years later, what do I have to show for it? Nothing, because I've fallen back into it once again. It has clutched me and dragged me back down into the depths. And it's so scary scrolling through Pinterest, because you'll be fine and all of a sudden you'll see one of those fan arts and it'll just be like, "Oop!" Jump scare. Okay? You are not expecting it, just BAM! Creepy skeleton stuff that probably shouldn't be uttered on this channel, otherwise it will be taken down. But, you know, it's sort of worth it because your little brain goes, yippee, when you see one of your favorite little guys. Speaking of favorite little guys, a paper-crafted swap. Pinterest, while I just explained how demonic of a place it can be, it's also beautiful because you get stuff like this, okay? Okay? That sort of makes the trauma worth it. So here's my video layout where I'm gonna be laying out my discussion points for today. I don't know about you, but one of my pet peeves here on YouTube is getting like halfway through a 30-minute long video, expecting one thing to take place, and then realizing like, oh, this is not going the direction I expected. So I like to make sure that you guys don't have to deal with that kind of stuff here on my channel. Today I'm going to be explaining why I think Ink is autistic, so I'm going to be pointing out a couple of his behaviors via the wiki, and then I will explain why I think they are autistic traits. Just quickly throwing in my disclaimer before we begin the video, I would like to say that I'm in no way a licensed professional. I do a lot of my research online, and I will always put my sources at the end of my videos, so if you would like to check out my sources and what I used to research, please by all means do so. Because I am not an expert in my field, I would advise that you do not use my content to self-diagnose. If you do not have the resources to get diagnosed, please do credible research in getting your own diagnosis. Most of my analyses go around mental health discussions and very often look into past traumas, but because we're not looking into that today, you can sort of ignore the trigger warning on the bottom. This is a very safe video. So a lot of the resources for ink and ink that I'm going to be talking about is not fanon ink, it is ink canon to his creator. And I got this off of the official Undertale OC wiki page for him, so it's very close to how he was intended by his creator, not so much by the fandom. One of the first things I want to talk about is the fact that Ink is supposedly very, very blunt in his mannerisms. Here is a quote that resonates with what I'm going to be talking about. With him hardly having a proper social understanding, he's blunt in his teasing and mocking, just like in his ability to give support and to be kind. Okay, so being very straightforward or blunt in what you have to say, saying what you mean, not leaving any hints to what you're trying to say or any vagueness in what you're trying to say, it's a very autistic trait because autistic people tend to not get that social hint when people are being very vague in what they're trying to say. They'll take things very literally, or stuff you're trying to hint at, they just won't comprehend right away. So they like bluntness and they use bluntness. Ink does that. Ink very much does that. He's very blunt, straightforward, to the point with what he has to say, and sometimes that makes him look like a jerk, but he doesn't mean it that way. He's genuinely just saying what he means and saying what comes to his mind instead of either sugarcoating things or, you know, being vague or hinting at something without actually saying it, because autism. Now, another thing the wiki said about our boy Ink is that he tends to be an excitable person. He tends to get really excited in certain situations, so much so that, you know, from what I've noticed, he tends to invade on people's space. He tends to talk really loud in certain cases. And I genuinely believe that that is also an autistic trait, because autistic people tend to have spatial awareness issues, especially when they're talking about something they're really passionate about. They'll intrude upon someone's personal space without realizing, oh, I'm in this person's bubble. And they also have trouble controlling the volume of their voices. So sometimes they will speak very, very loudly without realizing they're doing it. This is where I get really heated about what the fanon has dubbed Ink as, because very often I'll see people portray Ink as being heartless, cold, calculating, even manipulative at times. And I genuinely don't think that's who Ink is. Ink, in the canon, according to the wiki, does do things to show that he cares about people.
So the wiki has two little spots that really make me think Ink is either empathetic or at least tries to help out during stressful situations. The first clue is right at the top. It says he's able to change clothes on people just by using his brush, and he loves to create the kind of outfit they like. So Ink is actively using his abilities in order to make other people happy. And then down below, it says, although he does come off as a jerk on first impression, he does know what to analyze to understand the issue so he can brush people the right way and hopefully have them listen. So he really cares about what other people think of them. He wants people to like him, but he also wants to make people comfortable.
But Touche, it says he tends to be somewhat detached from his emotions.
That does not mean that he's emotionally unavailable. I think what the wiki is trying to reference here is the fact that he has to use his vials in order to feel emotions. That is a completely different thing. What do the two things that I just mentioned have to do with Ink being autistic? Well, oftentimes autistic people won't express things such as affection in the quote-unquote normal or quote-unquote commonplace ways, right? Lots of people recognize affection via hugging or maybe even kissing or, words of affirmation, that sort of a thing. But Ink doesn't do that. And I think this is why the fanon portrays him the way they do. They notice what's missing in his behaviors and they go, oh, he doesn't care. But he does, because the wiki quite literally describes that he designs things for people or likes to make things for people suited to their taste that he knows they'll like, with the hopes that they will enjoy what he's given to them. He likes to use his talent and his gifts to make people happy, which is definitely a love language, right? That is acts of service right there. That is gift giving right there. But because it's not a stereotypical form of affection, such as hugging or telling someone you love them, automatically the fandom's not going to try and look for anything else. They're going to see what's missing and they're going to go, oh, heartless. As for Ink's deep analysis of other people, like the wiki states, the fact that he really tries to analyze and decode people's behavior and who they are based on their behavior, and then will try to mimic their behavior either to get himself out of a sticky situation or for something else. That, to me, sounds a lot, and I mean a ton, like masking.
This is what Dr. Hannah Belcher, an autistic person, has to say about masking. So masking may involve suppressing certain behaviors we find soothing but that others think are weird, such as stimming or intense interests. It can also mean mimicking the behavior of those around us, such as copying nonverbal behaviors and developing complex social scripts to get by in social situations.
Just trying to interact with people in general is very stressful because they don't grasp the social cues that so many people seem to have downloaded in their brain and understand. This genuinely sounds like masking, because what Ink is doing is trying to see how other people act, because that isn't downloaded into his brain or skull. I don't know. And basically, he will read their behaviors, analyze their behaviors, what they're doing, what they're saying, how they say things, how much eye contact they make, that sort of thing, and then he will mimic it. in order to get through a social situation without coming across as weird, without coming across as rude. Now, I know I went on a whole tirade on how the fandom has dunked on Ink for, his autistic traits and not noticing some of them, but there's one he has that is so blatantly out there that it's impossible to miss, and that is his deep passion and obsession with art. Now, it's not actually an obsession. It is simply a case of an autistic person enjoying their special interest. So special interests for autistic people are subjects or very specific topics that autistic people find a love for or an interest in. They'll find all sorts of information on it, as much information as they can. They love talking about it. They love, letting other people know about it. And that's because they deeply, deeply resonate with the media that they are engaging in. They have a deep love for it, so much so that they gain comfort from their special interest. And the more they delve into their special interest, the more they identify with it, the more they find comfort in it. So for Ink, that could very well be art, because he's been known to be really, really passionate about art, know about all sorts of types of art, and tries to persuade others to pursue art or to be as creative as they can be. He is an avid lover of art, and that I genuinely believe is a special interest.
Now I'm kind of going to summarize what we've talked about today and what we've discussed. So I've immediately laid down that Ink is an emotional person. He just displays his emotions differently than others, and that gets overlooked. We can see via the way Ink interacts with other people that he experiences autistic traits, and he very often actually masks. And then we sort of talked about special interests and why Ink's passion for art is a special interest.
And that about does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and continuing to support my channel if you're a frequent flyer by my channel. If you are new here, I'm so happy to have you watching my content. That makes me really happy. I hope you liked my content. I hope you guys like this video. I really want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this. If you have opinions different than me, or if you have an opinion like mine but want to add on to something, please let me know. I am so invested in what you guys have to say. My favorite thing is literally when you guys write those really, really long rants or really, really long paragraphs explaining why you think something is a specific way. And then you guys go at the end and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry for the rant. Like, no! I love the rants because that means that I have piqued your interest and you also feel so energized by this content that you want to add on to it and you want to make a point of your own. And I absolutely adore reading through all those comments. I absolutely adore understanding other people's takes on things, because oftentimes I'll find a take that I didn't even think about, or a take that has a couple points that's really, really valid and like is against one of my points and makes a lot more sense. And I just love picking up new information from you guys. So please, by all means, post those really long paragraphs. I love them deeply. But yes, thank you for supporting my content. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions or if there are any factual inaccuracies you've noticed, please let me know. I try to keep this channel as factually relevant and factually correct as possible. I hate misinformation. Misinformation sucks, and I don't want to spread it. So if there is something you noticed is very wrong and you want to correct it, please mention the correction down below and I will pin your comment. Okay, that is all. Thank you so much. Remember, wherever you are, whatever you do, you're doing great. You're doing the best you can. Even if all you did today was survive, that is a plus. You did great today, and I love you. Okay, bye. Mwah.